The number one thing that makes a difference in a tool company, hands down, bar none, is innovation. But I think we should probably address the elephant in the room. The DeWalt is... Uh-oh, DeWalt. What did you do? Let's talk about that. A few weeks ago, this started showing up on the market. This is the DeWalt 20-volt platform, and it's a grabo lifter. Since it's hit the market, I have gotten so many emails asking me, Izzy, did DeWalt steal the grabo? No, they didn't steal the grabo. They licensed it from Grabo. And because Grabo has the manufacturing capability, all of the talent and the ability to make them, they even hired Grabo to manufacture their DeWalt version of the Grabo lifter. And it works with the 20-volt battery platform. Now, there's a handful of differences, and we're going to talk about that in today's video, but I want to use this topic to kind of broach a subject that there's a lot of misinformation out in the world about, and that's these behemoth manufacturers or behemoth tool companies and where they're manufactured and the good and the bad, and do they steal from the little guy and do they steal from each other? So we're going to talk about that in today's video, maybe help you guys understand a little bit more about those giant freight trains of companies and how they work on the inside and what that looks like for us as consumers. The companies we're talking about today are absolute giants in the tool industry. They have entire departments, sometimes whole divisions dedicated to research and development, or R&D. We're talking about hundreds, if not thousands, of engineers, industrial designers, project managers. It's really best to think of these companies as these giant freight trains. They've got momentum, they have resources, they have experience on their side, and it's really hard to stop once they get started. Now, this sounds great for innovation, right? But when you have that many people working on a dozen different projects, all towards the goal of getting this done as fast as possible, it's nearly impossible to make sure that every one of those ideas is an original idea. They're constantly working on multiple ideas and they're re-innovating and prototyping, and there's a whole cycle to this. Now, they do have protection in place, ways to check for patents and other ideas that are out on the market, but quite frankly, it's not foolproof, and sometimes things do fall through the cracks. It's not unheard of for a product to make it all the way to market only to, oops, find out somebody else already did that. There's this thing called the parallel thinking phenomenon, and it's really simple to explain. If you have two groups of people that are on either side of the world that have a problem that's similar, now these two groups of people have similar experience, they have similar resources, and they're thinking about the problem in a similar way, it's very likely that these two groups of people that have never met and had no idea the other group had the same problem will fix that problem in very similar ways. That's called the parallel thinking phenomenon. And we've seen it lots and lots of times in the tool industry. Now, we look at what's trending in the market, and you'll see tool companies that focusing on trends. They're both trying to solve one problem that's trending or add some accessory to a tool that's trending. And they come up with similar ideas, and they hit the market pretty close to the same time because they're following trends. That's why you often will see one company that comes out with a product that's pretty similar to another company's product relatively about the same time. They most likely weren't stealing from each other, but they were victims of the parallel thinking phenomenon. Now we can flip the coin at it and talk about kind of the negative side of some of these tool companies. And I'm not pointing fingers or going to name names or blame anybody. All I'm saying is that this does happen. I know it happens. That if there's a tool or something out there in the market that's doing really, really well, some tool companies have teams and groups of people that will look at the patent and find ways to get around that patent so they can do something very similar to that tool in hopes of grabbing their fair share of the market share. That's a mouthful. Now, depending on whether you're going to let your moral compass guide you on how you feel about that, or whether you let the thoughts of innovation lead you on that. When you have companies that are competing to be more innovative, in the end, that means better tools and better ideas and things that just work better for us consumers. So yeah, I'm not really sure how I feel about that one. It's just there and it happens, and that's just part of the industry. It's widely accepted inside the tool industry. Let's jump back over to the Grabos for a minute. This is the DeWalt Grabo. This is the way it came. I bought this from Acme Tools. And when you open it up, it comes in a bag. No battery, so this is meant to work with your 20-volt battery platform in the DeWalt lineup. And it had some of these filters and those rubber connectors. You're going to want to hang on to those because those are wearable parts on this. The DeWalt Grabo costs 250 bucks, like it sits. Now, if you go and you get the Grabo Pro, they have it available in the hard shell case for $329. So you get the Grabo, a battery comes with it, you get the charger, and again, you have the grommets and the filters, and you're going to want to hang on to those. Now, if you look at the front of the DeWalt and the Grabo, you're going to see recommended lifting capacities here. So on the DeWalt Grabo, it's 132 pounds shear strength and 265 pounds lift strength. Over here on the Grabo, it just has the lift strength, and that's 256 pounds to 375 pounds. So quite a bit more lifting capacity. Now, as far as form goes, the seals on the bottom are the exact same size, but the body of the DeWalt looks like about a ½ inch wider and longer. And then the mechanical fastening points here are different. So about a ½ inch wider and looks to be about inch and a quarter longer that ways. But as far as like the feel goes, I do like the rubber grip on the DeWalt, where this one is a hard plastic grip on the Grabo. Both Grabos have an LCD screen on top that tells you, in this case, the PSI, and this one can tell you the pounds, PSI, or bar. As far as their function, you get them to work by pushing the green buttons on the top. And this one actuates quite a bit faster by a few seconds. And then you can see here, this has 11.7 PSI, that's pounds per square inch of holding capacity. And this one right now is showing 330 pounds of holding capacity. Now, as some of the vacuum is released from this, you'll see this turn itself back on to re-vacuum itself. And the DeWalt does the same thing. Now, the seal on this DeWalt's brand new, so I don't imagine it's going to be leaking any air. This one's been used and abused quite a bit. So if you're on the DeWalt battery platform, the 20-volt battery platform, this is really interesting to me. But from the performance side, I'm looking at this like I've got quite a bit more strength and holding, and it acts a little bit faster. So I'll probably be sticking with the Grabo. However, I really do like the touch points on the DeWalt Grabo. So touch points just means where your hand touches the tool. The rubber on it, the battery, those kind of things are touch points. But I think we should probably address the elephant in the room. The DeWalt is sexy. I mean, look at that thing. Comparatively, this looks like it was designed by a branding guy and an industrial designer, and this looks like it was designed by an engineer. So there's this thing when you're in the product world called visual confidence, and I'll explain that just briefly. If I don't know much about a product and I'm a consumer and I'm going up and looking at two different products, and I see one that looks like it's designed better, it's more ergonomic looking, it's sexier looking, the visual confidence is that that's the better tool. And I'm probably going to buy that unless I've really done my homework and know that this Grabo acts faster and has more holding power. So yeah, visual confidence, it's a thing. Branding guys and industrial design guys know this very, very well. Engineers, not so much. I'm going to give you a visual reference. Now, I've designed a lot of things for the Grabo, not for the Grabo company, but accessories that work with the Grabo for my own personal use and for potential products down the road. I want to give you an example of something I showed a few years ago, which was a vacuum drill press of sorts. So you could vacuum down a drill press mechanism to a wall or anything and drill this hole. Well, I'm redesigning it to be more ergonomic and sexier, and then you're going to be able to change out the plates on the bottom so you can use different size plates to get more or less vacuum or to fit in tight areas. So this is my model of that vacuum drill press, or vacuum press we'll call it. Yeah, it's definitely designed by an engineer. I'm fortunate enough to work with a really amazing branding guy and a phenomenal industrial designer. And once I showed it to him, this is his model of that vacuum drill press. So you can see the difference where engineer designed something, form, function, works great. The industrial designer and branding guy made it look gorgeous. So that really offers that visual confidence when someone's looking at it. Mike and Chris, thank you so much for your guidance and your help with the branding and the industrial design, and for teaching me why engineers and analytical guys should probably never have anything to do with branding. No offense to the engineers. I kind of fall in that category. Which leads me back to these big, huge behemoth companies. They have branding people, industrial designers galore, and they know how to make tools that are attractive to people. And that's a big deal when you're talking about products out on the market. Which leads us to our next topic about big industrial complex tool manufacturers, if that makes any sense whatsoever. Where are all these tools made? The answer is very, very simple, guys. It's China. We're not going to go real far down this rabbit hole. And no, not everything is made in China. And in fact, if you start looking at all the profiles of these different manufacturers and where things are actually manufactured, you'll see that they're manufactured all over the place. That doesn't necessarily mean that the tool is wholly manufactured in one particular location or another, but parts of that tool may be manufactured in Indonesia, China, Mexico, Malaysia, Philippines, kind of all over the place. Now, I will tell you from a business standpoint, when you're a big industrial complex kind of business, you're looking at where you can get the highest quality part for the best price. And when it comes to those things, you're going to be looking at Malaysia, China, Mexico, Taiwan. So you kind of get where I'm going with this. It's just way too big and way too vast to make any real claims about where any one particular tool or manufacturer makes their tools. It's complicated, really complicated, but it's mostly China. That's definitely enough about that subject. So the next thing we need to talk about is, do big companies steal from little guys? The answer to that is yes and no, but yes. Just a couple weeks ago, Maggie and I saw that this was released on an Instagram reel from DeWalt. This is something they're calling the Nut Runner, and it's a pretty cool looking tool. Now, I thought that tool was absolutely amazing, and I thought it's about time because that's something that's really needed in the industry, especially when we're talking about fire suppression, electricians, hanging ceilings, all over the place. All thread is used in the construction industry. Now, what I also found very interesting is that it works very familiar to this other tool called the DPT wrench that I invented about 9 years ago and unveiled at the JLC show about 7 years ago. And let me show you how it works. It takes an industry standard through socket so you can see right through it, and it attaches to the DPT wrench, and then you can just attach your driver to it and run nuts down all thread. The advantage of this is you don't have to leave it attached to your drill all the time. But if you look at DeWalt, they did some really interesting things. It's a split socket, so you can pull it, instead of having to pull it all the way down the thread, you can just pop it right off. And that's enough of a difference that if I did have a patent on this, they'd be able to get around it. Now, I'm not saying they blatantly copied me, but to answer the yes, no, yes question of do big tool companies copy people, let me explain. Now, I want to be very careful about how I word this next part because it's important what I say. When you're looking at the big engine that is big business or big tool companies, there's a lot, and I do mean a lot of people involved. So this could be a simple case of the parallel thinking phenomenon, or it could be one of the engineers saw something online somewhere and brought it in and said original idea. Regardless of how it actually happened, does it really matter? Not really, to be honest. If that was the only good idea I've ever had, I might feel some kind of way about it, but it's not. And quite frankly, this is a thing that needs to be out on the market. It's going to make life for contractors and installation guys a lot easier. And quite frankly, their version is a little bit better than what I had envisioned with the split, that you can take it right off instead of having to go up and down the rod. So yeah, they did something that's really cool. Yes, there was something like that out there before. It just so happens it was something that I invented. I don't hold any feelings about it towards DeWalt one way or the other. It's nice to see it out there. So if I wanted to bring my DPT wrench back to life and make a few of the improvements that I've been thinking about over the years, I absolutely could. I have prior art and I have public domain on my tool. Even though I let the provisional patent expire, I can still bring it back to market. And I might. It's something that I've been thinking about. But those kind of things happen. I think DeWalt's doing a great job as far as innovating. They have lots of new ideas that they're bringing to the market. So good job on you, DeWalt. Absolutely keep doing what you're doing. For me, though, I'm still a Makita fan. This has been a fun video for me to make and talk a little bit about big business. Now, at the end of the day, big business is still ran by people, and people are inherently flawed. So no matter what you do, if you look close enough, you're going to find issues with companies, just like you're going to find issues with people. You can do whatever you want with that information, but for me, the most exciting thing is that this competition breeds innovation. And I love to see new things that make life a little bit easier, make our jobs a little bit easier, especially on the material handling side of the construction trades. Because material handling, I think, has been overlooked for many, many years. And the smart companies know that there's a big gap in the market in the material handling space. That is why Grabo is doing so well and will continue to do very well. I know this video is way off base from what we normally do, but let me know in the comment section what you thought. I really want to hear your feedback. We're always interested in seeing what people think of the content that we're putting out. Now, Maggie and I have taken 5 months off and we're just coming back after a 5-month break, and we're playing with some new ideas about what the channel will look like in the future. So hit us up. Let us know what you think. We're definitely interested in hearing what you have to say. As always, thank you so much for tuning in and spending a little bit of time with us today. If you feel like this video earned your subscription, hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up, and we'll see you in the next video.